and it was just really cool, like thinking about how you buy like supply and demand, essentially, like find all these really rare kind of ones and then find the right price and kind of buy out the market almost, and you can like,
But to be honest, that's the only way to really learn, to have this real interest and just looking at formulas and that's the skin in the game required in actually to get your attention. So I totally get it.
Yeah, we'll see you guys in DeFi land.
Right. Definitely looking forward to that.
At least cool, right? Yeah.
We are live, so welcome everybody from Twitch, YouTube, and media. Let me also put out a tweet that we are ready and out.
Awesome.
Hey, everyone. Seeing some familiar faces in the audience, for sure.
I love that.
Got that big Solana family. Did you guys celebrate last night as well?
We did celebrate, but online. We have our public team call tonight at 6 o'clock UTC, so we're gonna congratulate each other today. The whole team is meeting today. But yes, I met with Dean Machine yesterday. We streamed together. We drank beers. It was a lot of fun.
Nice. That's awesome.
All right, guys, we're live. Let's start. First of all, congratulations. Bravo for everything you managed to do. It has been like an insane experience, and we are extremely impressed with what you have built. Congratulations.
Thank you very much. Really appreciate it. And honestly, it's been so great to work in this kind of community and have the opportunity to build this product and just work with so many incredible people.
And again, congratulations to yourself. Grape came second in the Web3 track. It's just absolutely amazing.
Thank you so much.
That's right.
Thank you so much. So the team is from Australia, from what we understand.
That's correct.
And how did your journey start? How did everything start? How did you look at crypto? What brought you to Solana? What is your financial background? Because options is not something that a new trader usually learns.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, all good questions. So I guess most of us have known each other for a couple of years. We kind of knew each other through university and whatnot, have been friends for the most part. And we've been interested in crypto for quite a while. I would say got into crypto trading in 2017 and was like pretty actively doing that for like the year or two following that. And it was just really interesting. I think I was less into the technical side and more just like, what is cryptocurrency? And obviously like looking through all the different coins that were going on and having my like portfolio of different altcoins and trading that was really interesting and was kind of a good primer for me. And then I think, there was that whole kind of crypto winter after that. Bitcoin went to 20K and then everything crashed and everyone lost a bunch of money. And so that obviously like probably put a lot of us off for like the time being. And then I think this whole DeFi movement came around, and that's when like, a lot of the interest started coming back into the space. At least me personally, I was like always wanted to learn development. I'd gone through and like finished my studies and whatnot. My like background's in software engineering essentially. And so I was like, hey, I should probably learn how to program smart contracts on Ethereum, and started just like in my downtime learning a bunch of Solidity. I was like, this is a good way to learn about how to actually build on the blockchain. I'd done a couple of courses on distributed computing in university, and some of the assignments that we had were like build your own blockchain from scratch essentially. So I thought that was like super interesting. I'll let Amal talk for himself. He was actually in like DeFi in the super early days.
Yeah, I was super into DeFi sort of in 2018, 2019. And I was trading then as well as market making on one of the early decentralized exchanges. And it's kind of crazy how far things have come. Back then, like 100K volume on a day would be a lot, and now it's just blown up, and it's really cool to see.
Of course, everything was on Ethereum.
Yep,
Yeah, of
that's
course.
right. That's right.
And
Yeah,
what made you look at Solana?
Yeah, so I guess to backtrack, yeah, we decided to like go with the whole options thing because two of my best friends who are like also co-founders now like are both in trading essentially, and they were kind of really into that options space in terms of like options market making and doing options trading. So I guess me coming from like less of a trading background but having an interesting like interest in the technical kind of fundamentals, it was really good pairing up with them who had the really like strong finance and trading background. And then we figured that, you know, options was something that we really wanted to tackle. It's a good way to hedge risk, and it's very popular in traditional markets. And we saw that there was this big opportunity. It's obviously like very complicated, and our big goal is kind of bringing down that barrier to entry so we can get actual like, you know, the majority of people trading options and kind of making the most of it. But I guess back to your like original question, which was why Solana. Um, I guess we were essentially looking at like what was fundamentally wrong with a lot of these Ethereum options protocols, and we tried trading on them. And honestly, the experience is like really jarring in the sense that you have to pay hundreds of dollars in fees, and that when you're trying to like settle your options and do any kind of, you know, trading on it, you're waiting for Oracle prices to update over periods of like 15 minutes, and just to do any kind of transactions to clear on the Ethereum blockchain, it takes like a very long time because it's quite congested at the moment, high gas fees. And so we were looking at like alternatives to that. Like, do we wait for Ethereum L2? And we talked to some of the, you know, Arbitrum and some of the other L2 providers, and they weren't quite ready yet. And so, you know, Solana kind of caught our eye, sounded really interesting. And I spent like good couple of days, not gonna lie, reading the white paper. I don't know if you've read it, but it's pretty complicated.
It's so complicated, and the
Yeah.
documentation is nowhere to be found.
Yeah, could do with some improvement, but it's getting there. And so yeah, I spent like a bit of time rereading the white paper, like, you know, maybe like 3 times, just wrapping my head around like how proof of history works and kind of like some of the fundamentals with that. And just the more it like clicked for me, I was like, this is really incredible, like what Anatoly's managed to do. I listened to a bunch of podcasts, and that's when it was kind of like, this is a really good option. And I think we reached out to Dom from Solana, and he was like really helpful. He's also Australian, so I think he took a liking to us, and he put us in touch with Anatoly like ASAP essentially. And we got on a call with Anatoly within like a week or two, had a chat with him, and I was just super impressed like talking to him. Like the guy knows his stuff super well, and he comes from that kind of like uh, tech background of actually having built a lot of like distributed systems, having worked in like telco for like Qualcomm and whatnot. I was like, this guy is like a really legit engineer. And so I was like, this platform is really impressive what he's built. I think it has a lot of potential. It like scales really well, and it's super performant. And this is kind of like exactly what we want to do for derivatives.
Nice. Good to hear for Anatoly being so inspiring.
Yeah, for
And
sure.
I see lots of people here came unprepared. It's like going to war without your weapon. I need you guys to give me a TLDR of Zeta.Markets for those that didn't really prepare for this super important AMA.
Yeah, of course. So yeah, I guess to give a TLDR of what we're doing, we obviously focus on options trading as you know as part of DeFi. So we want to build an options trading DEX, and we want to bring the kind of CeFi experience of trading options. So stuff like you'd see on Deribit necessarily, or some of these kind of TradFi options exchanges. And we want to bring that to DeFi, where it's going to be really performant, and you can actually put on like, you know, proper trades, and it has a really good user experience. And so that's what we want to bring, and we're going to bring like high liquidity to this essentially through the use of our unique kind of order book and AMM. And we want to also enable under collateralization, which means you essentially don't have to post up all the collateral. So it becomes very capital efficient. Those are kind of our big selling points. So I guess in the one line sentence, we want to build like the DeFi Robin Hood.
Nice. Wow. Okay, that's a killer vision. Nice.
Thank you.
And you've done some impressive work in the past 3 weeks, guys. How did you manage to actually create this amazing project in just 3 weeks for the hackathon? What was the recipe? How, like, did you all work together, or like in the same place, day and night? What's the secret for doing that?
So that's a funny story, and yeah, I'm not sure like how we got that much work done in that short amount of time. It was definitely took a bit of a miracle. Yeah, we're lucky enough that we kind of all are in the same city, more or less. Like Sheep and one of our other community managers, Maz, are kind of international, I guess, but the rest of the team is, located together. So we were really lucky that COVID wasn't too rampant and we could actually kind of meet up and work on stuff. I think that was a bit of our like secret sauce of being able to work and collaborate together. And so, yeah, basically one of the guys on the team was generous enough to kind of host at his apartment. And it was basically like us living at his apartment for 3 weeks, more or less. And so we had like a good team of all of us sitting there. We set up a bunch of monitors around the place and everyone was kind of working hard. I know like Anmol was kind of like working on the couch and stuff. And there were definitely a couple of nights where I had to sleep on the couch, which is pretty fun, I guess, at the end of the day. But yeah, it was just pumping a lot of coffee, not sleeping that much and just working like 100 hours a week to get this thing out because we were really motivated to win this and really wanted to put in our best effort.
Man, sounds like a... sorry, great. Go on.
Yeah, I was going to say, yeah, we had a pretty good plan going into it. Like we'd done a bit of ideation before, but hadn't put too much like code out there exactly. So I think like we had a good vision of how we wanted to go with this and we just hit the ground running essentially. Started coding from day one and just tried to smash it out of the park. And we were really lucky as well. Like it was the four of us as like co-founders, but we really grew the team like exponentially over the course of the hackathon. We basically just like reached out to our friends or we're just chatting to friends about crypto generally, people that are our friends and like colleagues. And people were really happy to help us essentially like drop down to our like pseudo office, I guess, and just kind of sit down, help us with like design or some of like the business work or help us with a bit of front end and that kind of stuff. So taking that kind of work off our hands and distributing a bit more, like I think that's what got us over the line.
Man, it sounds so much fun. Despite being a lot of work, the fact that you actually did a LAN party to work and win the hackathon is absolutely amazing. Fantastic.
That's right. I think if it wasn't fun, we wouldn't have worked that hard. So yeah, that definitely made it worth it.
Yeah, that's the recipe. That's the recipe. You need to like what you're doing. You need to love what you're doing. And when you're doing it with people you respect and you love and they're your friends, the end result is always is much better. And look at you, won the grand prize. And we were certain, like you can watch my streams, 2 streams in a row. We were like, yeah, obviously Zeta is taking it.
You called it. Very well done. Nice.
So, who do you identify as your main competitor? Maybe in the Solana ecosystem or in the general ecosystem, in the blockchain world?
Yeah, sure thing. So I guess generally, we're of the opinion that we don't have necessarily a direct competitor. We've looked at a lot of the protocols on Ethereum, and I think there are a lot of people who've tried to crack this options problem, but we haven't seen like a viable contender, like one clear protocol that's gone out there and that's like really obviously, I think, going to take the cake here. When you look at like perpetuals and whatnot, you see these platforms such as DYDX, and I think they have like a clear advantage, or there are a few kind of plays where it makes sense in that derivative space. But I think in options, there's really no clear winner, and everyone's kind of still fighting it out, and it's not really clear. So I think we have like a really good advantage there where we can leverage that and kind of step up and be that kind of platform. I guess in the Solana ecosystem, we know there are other projects such as Psi Options. They're doing some really great stuff, and they actually won the last hackathon. So really impressive work that they've done. Also love the guys, Taylor and Tommy, like really chill guys and get along with them super well. However, they're building like fundamentally, I think, quite different side of options. So we're doing European cash settled options. They're doing American kind of asset settled options. And so they're kind of, quite different products, and they're approaching it in quite a different way where they're going more for the pure order book model. We're going a bit more for the order book hybrid AMM model, which has less of a reliance on it, like explicit market makers. Yeah, that's kind of how we see the ecosystem from our perspective.
Nice. That's great that we're going to have both American options where it's a different product than the European options. 100% different.
Yeah.
So that's
exactly.
Solana is actually.
And we talked to them and we're like, hey, we can probably actually have some good synergies here. And DeFi is all about composability, so we're really keen to work together on that.
Yeah, for those that don't know what the American options are, the American options allow the trader to exercise their buy or sell option at any time before the option's expiration, where the European ones can choose to exercise or not uh, on the date only. So it's a fundamentally different risk product.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
And from you guys, who has the finance background? Because I learned options by doing in my Masters of Finance, and you're telling me you have engineering backgrounds and coding backgrounds. How did you acquire
That's more
this
just
kind
me.
of knowledge?
Yeah. The other two guys in the team, Amal's actually got a bit of a finance background. He worked in finance for a bit. And I would say I'm actually the only one that has like a little bit less of a finance background. The other two guys in the team both also studied finance. They have like a really strong trading background. One of them is like a options trader by trade, I guess. So he knows this stuff back to front. He's just like an absolute options whiz. And every time I have questions and need to implement stuff, like, I basically chat to him. He knows everything. So it's been incredibly helpful.
Okay, let's talk a little bit more about options then. Who is the target investor? Who do you want to bring into options from the crypto world? Or it's your target investor doesn't come from the crypto world. He doesn't need to know that you are operating on Solana or something like that.
Yep. So I think the long-term future is we'd like to build this platform to be like back-end agnostic. And, ideally, I think the case is where you get to this kind of Robinhood level where people are just using the app and then they kind of don't even know that they're trading on a blockchain. I think that's the kind of state that you want to get to. And yeah, we're definitely, I think, very focused on the retail market. So obviously the institutional side is pretty important, and there are a lot of experienced traders. And I think that's kind of typically been a lot of the market for options because it's a complicated product to trade and it's really good for risk management and sophisticated traders. That's going to be really important. And I think that will definitely follow. And we've got a lot of interest there. But we really want to focus, I think, on a lot of like retail flow, getting those people in. I think, obviously a big thing of crypto is super volatile. And if you can hedge risk in that, that's going to be really important. And being able to like protect your portfolio, we think that's really going to be really useful for a lot of our users and people who will be kind of like investing in our platform. And so we're really big on a few different things. We really want to focus on the education piece around options. So like upskilling people so they understand like what are options, how to trade them, and how to use it to kind of manage portfolio risk. And we want to make this like really user friendly. So focusing on like UI, UX, and like the usability essentially of our platform. I think there's also like a big problem with Solana in general is it's got a bit of a high barrier to entry in terms of like difficult to use and whatnot, a bit confusing and like kind of developer centric. So we really want to improve the usability side of it and kind of lower the barrier. And yeah, we want to start building into these kind of structured products, I guess, or option strategies. So you can buy stuff like, straddles if you want to trade volatility and whatnot, which are basically like combinations of options pairs. And they give you these different kind of risk profiles. And so people will be able to trade, I guess, volatility or other different things in the market and manage their risk in kind of sophisticated ways. But that should hopefully be simple to use.
And by educating the public and the crypto investors, you can cater to any portfolio size, if I'm not mistaken. Even if you have a smaller portfolio and you want to hedge it, you can still go there, right?
Yeah, I'd say so. Yeah, and especially because we're being super capital efficient, we're trying to lower that barrier to entry where you don't need to like post up a ton of margin. And also the fact that we're just building on Solana, it's like when you're building on Ethereum, it really prices out, I think, all the casual users or all the retail people who don't have, who don't want to be spending $200 on fees, because then it just kind of caters to whales where it's like, oh, I can't trade on this platform anymore because I'm paying hundreds of dollars in fees. So
it's absolutely true. It's absolutely true, and it's the reason why it's low volume, like compared to derivatives in general in the crypto world, in the decentralized, in DeFi has low volume so far.
Yeah, that's right.
Compared to the traditional finance, of course. Do you think that this will change with time as protocols become more efficient, as you enter the game, as Solana expands with high transaction capacity and almost zero cost transactions?
Yeah, absolutely. I think so. And I think that was a big motivation for why we started this protocol. Funnily enough, when you look at traditional derivatives markets and the market cap there, if you look at derivatives markets in traditional space, it's actually like eclipses the spot market or like the stock market, I guess. So you've got like 10x, I think, the market cap on derivatives in traditional exchanges. But when you look at DeFi, it's the complete opposite.
Exactly.
Where I think TVL in DeFi, it's like 2% of overall TVL is in derivatives, and then 0.2% is actually in options, which is like tiny. That's like an absolute fraction of overall TVL. And that was something that really shocked us. And we're like, why is this so apparent? And I think the answer to that is just like, it's a really hard thing to do and no one's done it yet. But we think it's like the final frontier. So there's like all these other kind of financial primitives that have come before. You've got like, borrow lending with like compound Aave and that kind of stuff. And then you've got like a few other iterations. Now we're getting to derivatives essentially. We've got people building perps. And then I think options are kind of like the last frontier for what we can see for that. And so we think we've like come in right time in the market essentially to try and solve that. And we think once we solve that, we have a good platform. Maybe in like 12 months, we become like the platform essentially for options. And we see Solana obviously blowing up and becoming like on par with Ethereum. We think it's going to be like really good. We're going to see a lot of like institutional flow probably come into it. So it's going to be super exciting.
Yes, endless balance sheets moving to DeFi in Solana. I agree. We all see that. That's why we're building and we're so excited about Solana.
Exactly.
Even looking at the sponsors of the hackathon, it is apparent that lots of big protocols are looking to expand here.
Yeah, that's right. Even like a bunch of investors who've come and reached out to us all come from this like traditional, like a lot of them come from traditional finance and whatnot. And I think they've really come to this and been like, this is amazing. Especially, I think Solana is incredible because they kind of get this CeFi experience essentially, but with like a DeFi protocol. And I think that's what's going to enable like the next wave of innovation.
We definitely agree on that. Definitely. So let's go a little bit to more specific things that the community, because obviously a big thank you to the Grape community for because we sourced the questions from the Grape community, so they submitted these questions, and I'm very thankful. So thank you very much. A couple of things that are a bit more specific towards your project. What does under-collateralization mean? Shouldn't it be over-collateralized? It really sounds like a disadvantage when you first read it on the introduction. At least for the crypto world, you expect loans, synthetic assets, stable coins to be over-collateralized, not under.
Yeah, so I guess this is like a little bit of a misunderstanding. So under-collateralization is actually what you want. So collateral is essentially like how much collateral or margin that you want to put up when you're taking on these kind of positions. And if you want like a really capital efficient exchange, you want to be essentially not having to post that much collateral to cover your position. So you can trade with, I guess, like a lot less funds in your bank account. So if you might have like an FTX or Binance margin account, obviously, like I want to be able to place on big trades with maybe only like $1,000 of collateral. I don't want to be posting up $10,000 of collateral because that's kind of going to make it really efficient. I can make less bets essentially. I can use less of my money to actually be functional. And so what we're trying to get to is under collateralization, where I don't need to put up like 1-to-1 essentially in terms of my margin. Over collateralization is kind of what you want to avoid. And that's what a lot of these borrow lending and some of the other derivatives and options protocols are doing. And this is just kind of because they don't think like have solved the problem yet. And it's just the kind of unfortunate consequence of some of these protocols. You need to put up, I think places like synthetics and whatnot, you need to put up like 7-to-1
sometimes up to 10-to-1, sometimes up to 10x.
Yeah, exactly. So say you want to buy like one derivative or something or other, worth like X amount of money, you need to put up essentially like 7x in terms of like the kind of collateral that you want to put up. So it just like makes it really inefficient and you can't, trade big size and whatnot. So we're trying to obviously go the other way, which is how you should be doing it. And we want people to be able to trade without having to put up, full collateral. And that's what you get if you go on, FTX and whatnot, and you put on like a 100x leverage trade. Essentially, you can obviously trade with like only like a small amount of margin for that.
If you've managed to solve this problem of capital efficiency, then that's going to bring so many people to Zeta.Markets. Exactly. So many people in Solana.
I think it's a big problem for options especially, and I think options are nice because you can we're big on like making the combinations of options. And so if you get like combinations of these different options, it actually kind of balances out, I guess, the risk profile. And so the risk is mitigated, and therefore like people don't have to put up as much collateral to kind of protect themselves.
Very promising, guys. Wow.
Yep.
I look forward on the things that are coming.
Thank you.
What does a hybrid order book mean, and why did you choose that to use it? Because we're used on the normal Serum order books, we're used on the AMM fictional order books. What's the deal with the hybrid order book?
Yeah, so I guess this is like a bit of a misnomer or misunderstanding in how we phrased it, because we call it a hybrid order book in AMM. So it's the hybrid is less about the order book, but the combination of an order book within AMM. And so basically what we're trying to achieve with this is, so there are like two primitives, I guess. You've got the order book, which is obviously going to be Serum. And this is something that's only available on Solana. You don't have this kind of stuff on Ethereum. Well, you do with like 0x and some of those L2 ones. But having the Serum order book is great. And it allows for like price discovery. Essentially people can trade against each other on the order book. The only problem is you need a lot of liquidity on this order book for it to actually be useful. And so we're trying to bring this hybrid approach essentially, which is we have the Serum order book and we have a bunch of people actively trading on that and facilitating price discovery. But then we don't need active market makers, like necessarily like a big firm like Alameda or something or other having to make the book. We have like a central counterparty essentially, which will be our AMM kind of auto trader strategy. The AMM, you can think of it just like another market participant, and it also trades on the order book. So we'll have an automated strategy essentially. We'll use like a Black-Scholes pricing model, which will give the price of the different quotes that the AMM is making, and then the AMM will place these kind of standing orders on the order book, and that allows for like liquidity on the order book, and essentially anyone can kind of trade with that. We think this is a really good idea, really good way to go about it, because we don't need necessarily to have all these market makers actively kind of making our markets. We can have this automated strategy, and we can provide essentially liquidity across all our different strikes and expiries, even like the super deep ones. So this makes like trading a lot easier for the end user.
Innovations on every level. How did you come up with that, guys? Are you like? Have you seen something like that in the market, or you innovated that as well?
Yeah, no. I think the inspiration for me, I think I kind of came up with this. I don't want to take credit, but yeah, I was reading the Radium white paper around the time that I was reading the Solana one, and that's kind of how they do it essentially. They have like the Serum order book, and Radium's AMM essentially goes and places orders onto the Serum order book, and that's why it kind of facilitates like a lot of liquidity on their platform.
Beautiful. And I see on the architecture you provide on your white paper, you have those passive liquidity providers. Are these some kind of liquidity pools like that you will be hosting yourselves? Is it some kind of Radium pool? Is it just a USDC pool? How does it? What do you mean by passive liquidity provider, and what is the gain for that?
Yep. So think of it exactly like a Radium pool, essentially. So users essentially just put in USDC into that pool, and think of it like you're just kind of funding our auto trader almost. So we'll have this kind of market AMM that will basically go and provide options quotes on our order book, and you're basically providing to like the liquidity pool, like you'd almost have like a Radium pool. So you just put your USDC in there, and then basically like our trading system will go and it will take a lot of the liquidity and trade our markets. And then essentially like any profits made by that, as well as any kind of network fees, go back into you as a liquidity provider. So you can make money, I guess, trading options if you're a really experienced options trader and you can trade on the book. But then if you're less confident with options, there's always the option to just earn passive yield by kind of investing, I guess, almost in the automated strategy.
So it's just a single asset staking pool, and you will be hosting that. It's going to be, or you're going to host it on Radium or something like that, so you attract more capital.
Yeah, initially we're just going to host it ourselves, but yeah, we're talking with Radium on kind of good partnerships we can do with them, and that could definitely be like an interesting one. I think having it on their website or kind of like through their UI could definitely be like a nice way for us to attract a lot of volume. So,
I mean, you could use even the wormhole in the future and attract capital from other chains.
Yeah, exactly. Looking forward to that.
And so you're going to ensure the constant liquidity that the protocol needs from those pools, because it's an issue. In order to, in the worst case scenarios, like you might have some issue with liquidity. How do you solve that issue? It has been such an issue in binary options in the past.
Yeah, I guess that's kind of why we had the AMM. So obviously we'd like, I think, a lot of active market participants to be trading our book for the liquidity stuff. And that's kind of why we were onboarding a couple of strategic investors into some of our rounds who come from kind of the trading background and are big market makers on Deribit and some of these other options exchanges. So that's kind of one angle to it, where these people will be actively market making our book. But then the other kind of strategy, obviously, is this AMM strategy. And that's just something that will kind of run in the background, provide price quotes on this automated strategy. And it basically quotes across every market. So you're always going to have liquidity. It's pretty much like theoretically infinite, I guess, as you'd expect from like an AMM.
Whales can influence prices on AMMs due to slippage sometimes. How do you guys make sure that this cannot be manipulated to hit the strike levels, for example? I'm pretty sure that this is explained on the enhanced options pricing, but if you could maybe give us your version, maybe it's a bit easier for everybody to understand.
Yeah, sure. So I think this is not something that's unique to Zeta necessarily, because how options work essentially. For those who are not familiar, an option is basically like a contract, and when the price of the underlying, so say Solana hits the what's called the strike price, that's when your option becomes in the money and you kind of get a payout. So say for binary options, the payoff is kind of 0 or 1. If you're less than, say, if Solana is less than $30, you get 0. If Solana's greater than $30, you get a payoff of 1 essentially. And so basically this question seems to be asking, like, how does manipulation come into this? I think no matter what's traded on our market, it's really based on the underlying. And the underlying is really taken from, we're using Pyth as our price oracle. And that's kind of taking an external price feed. So I think no matter what happens on our platform necessarily, the strikes and how the options are settled should be kind of agnostic to that. And this is kind of going to be factored into our pricing anyway. We're using Pyth's like confidence interval feature anyway. And so that basically aggregates multiple market data sources, and then it gives like a confidence band, essentially, like how accurate is that data. And this is really important because when we try and settle an option and say the price of Solana is directly on, say, $30, and we have like plus or minus 10 cents or something or other, there's this like uncertainty interval. We want to basically like price that into how we settle the option, so it's fair for all people, and there's not this kind of like price pumping, I guess, like a few minutes out from the option expire.
Yeah, and this is all thanks to getting external prices from Pyth. While if you were just relying from the price discovery from the pool or from the internal market, that could possibly be an issue.
That's exactly right. So if someone wanted to manipulate prices, they would literally have to go to some of these like huge exchanges essentially and pump the hell out of those markets, which is quite unlikely to happen. And that's not just going to affect us, that's going to affect kind of every protocol or every market.
And how did the decision to go with Pyth? Like, how did you, like, why didn't you choose another oracle? Did they approach you? Do they have some kind of benefit that the others don't offer?
Yeah, so I guess it was a bit of both. I guess we were lucky because Tristan from FTX is one of our dear friends, and he basically was just like, I think we were asking him about, what are your thoughts on oracles and whatnot. He was very interested in, I guess, the Pyth guys, thought they were doing a great job. They're obviously kind of backed by a lot of the guys from Jump Trading who are like very well-known and good trading shop. So he was nice enough to do an intro to them, and we got chatting to them. They were incredibly helpful and supportive, and we love working with them. And also their product is just incredible. It's just like really, really well made, really easy to use. We got sped up with it. Like I basically like chucked in all like the Pyth price data into our like early alpha, and we got that working. And it's really fast. Like I think the way that they brand themselves is like high frequency Oracle data on the blockchain. And I think they do an incredible job of that. I don't think anyone has an Oracle that updates as fast as theirs. Like there's updates on a per block basis, essentially, which is super impressive. You're having spot, ticks every 400 milliseconds, which I think is just like amazing. And it works really well for our protocol, because options, and especially anything where you have kind of margin trading, it's really important to have a good liquidation engine. And if you have something on Ethereum where it's like, oh, you're using a Chainlink Oracle, the price updates every 15 minutes or something or other. Imagine the market turns and suddenly all these positions which are meant to get liquidated don't get liquidated because the price hasn't updated yet. And so suddenly a lot of people go over bankrupt and you create like huge problems for your platform. And you're just going to have this insurance fund that pays everyone out. However, with us, we can update prices literally sub-second. So if the market starts to change and people fall kind of under their maintenance margin, we can kind of liquidate them on the spot, which is like really good.
Yeah, that's amazing. But you still have an insurance fund, and yeah, tell us about that insurance fund. How does it work, and the liquidation mechanics, since you touched on that.
Yeah, sure thing. So I can start on the liquidation mechanics. So basically, we run this kind of, they call it a crank in the back end, essentially, for Solana. And so it's basically just like a script that you can kind of run. It basically scans accounts and basically checks what kind of maintenance margin you're on, which is essentially like how much margin do you have in your account relative to like what your P&L is. So obviously, if you're losing a lot and you kind of go below that margin, it's just kind of sell off your position essentially. And so we were running some of these scripts kind of ourselves, I guess, because it's a little bit easier. But we're going to go with the kind of Mango model where basically the community can kind of run all these liquidation scripts and there'll be some reward essentially when you liquidate a position. You'll probably get some kind of payout from that. I guess like long term as well, we'd want to have some kind of functionality where a lot of these like liquidation positions are potentially taken over by our AMM, and that's where some of the profitability is. And then I guess the insurance fund is basically for these kind of black swan events where, you know, the market dumps 60%, you know, which we've seen happen, you know, occasionally. But these are unfortunate situations where maybe our platform doesn't hold up. I mean, I think it will, but, you know, maybe something terribly, you know, wrong happens essentially. And then we have this insurance pool where we can basically like fund people's positions if people go over bankrupt, and then, you know, those kind of users aren't left footing the bill. It's kind of, I guess, forwarded a bit onto us. And that fund, essentially, that liquidation fund will probably be, I think, bootstrapped by a bunch of the fees on the platform, and we'll probably dedicate some of the treasury from our platform to initially get that started.
That's this kind of plan B really increases in investors' confidence and you know, to do their first step to actually start trading on Zeta.Markets.
Yep, exactly.
It only makes sense that you guys, I assume, going to expand in synthetic assets at some point, since they will be living on the Serum decentralized exchanges.
Yeah. So yeah, we've thought about it definitely. I guess like synthetic assets, we've talked quite a lot to Synthetify, who are one of the other projects in the ecosystem. Norbert's been like a really good supporter of the project and really enjoy working with him. I think they're doing great work, and you know, we'd potentially look into some stuff ourselves. We were looking into potentially doing exotic options and that kind of stuff and synthetic products that we would have options for. And likewise, we'd be more than happy to integrate with probably Synthetify to be able to list potentially some of their synthetics on our options platform.
Even on traditional finance, though, options are pricier, let's say. They cost a little bit more to trade them. How do you compare yourself when it comes to costs to traditional finance option trading?
Yeah, good question. That's a good question. I think we'd probably have pretty similar transactional like trading fees essentially to some of these providers. So if you're looking at probably Deribit, we'd probably look to charge the same fees because we think that's pretty reasonable. And it's probably healthy for the protocol, especially because that's going to be guaranteeing some of the money into the insurance fund and back to liquidity providers. But yeah, we think having these kind of passive strategies, being able to earn from that as well as earn from like trading on the order book, we think that's kind of, you know, you're not going to have an AMM strategy that you can run in like a traditional finance setting. So we think that's definitely like a bit of a differentiator there. We also think it's just going to be like pretty much as fast, and you know, we see it kind of going as like DeFi will be comparable to kind of CeFi down the line. So that's kind of what we're looking forward to.
Good to hear. So you're gonna be actually putting like a battle with Deribit and the other platforms in the space. That's amazing. I think.
Yeah, I guess so.
Down your roadmap at some point in the late stages, you mentioned about releasing your own coin. Any information about that? that you could possibly
not too
share?
much. Yeah, sure thing. Not too much information. We've obviously got a lot of questions, like, you know, when token launch, when airdrop, and all that kind of stuff. We're definitely thinking about this token launch pretty hard. I think we're still finalizing and nailing down the tokenomics so we get it completely right. That's really important to us. We don't want to launch a coin that's kind of like doesn't fulfill the right purpose, and just launching it for the sake of it, which I think some protocols might do. We really want to get the platform right, and I think that's the main focus for us. Definitely the coin will be pretty important, and I think have a lot of utility on the platform. But it's definitely a bit of a longer term vision, and probably that will be once we have something on DevNet, or at least probably like a mainnet for our platform. We'd definitely be looking to release this kind of token.
I appreciate that you're taking the time to do this right for your investors, for the users. I really appreciate that you're not rushing it. It's so important to get it right. Would you be looking only at a governance coin, or would you also want to have some profit sharing mechanism with the use of the platform?
Yeah, good question. And we're definitely looking to go past just like the standard governance coin approach. I think governance is cool, and eventually we're going to go to this DAO model. Obviously, we want this to be like a community owned project, and we want people to essentially put in votes for what kind of underlying assets you want options listed for. Say if someone wants like, you know, Cope options or something or other, you know, we'd have a community vote and people could obviously stake and vote for new options. But we think going past that is also pretty important. We want to encourage utility on the platform. And there are a lot of ways you can do that. Obviously, we want to give, I think, standard trading fee rebates. So obviously, like the more, if you stake Zeta tokens, we'd give you essentially like discounts on some of your trading. We think that's really important for those kind of big traders, and it's a good way for people to lock up tokens essentially. I think furthermore, we're going to have this options AMM, which is going to be quoting a lot of our markets. And basically, we'd want to reward people similarly to how Radium does with some of their pools in our native tokens. So if you're a liquidity provider, not only will you make money from some of the fees that the strategy kind of makes, and some of the profit that the strategy makes, but we'd also be giving you some kind of liquidity mining rewards in that regard as well. There are other functionalities like taking on liquidated positions and any kind of other ways that people can usefully interact with our protocol and help with, I guess, the operations and smooth trading of it. We'd want to reward people for that. So yeah, like taking over liquidated positions is like a big one of them as well.
And you mentioned earlier that you are actually planning to educate the crypto community. Are you planning on actually launching some kind of educational campaign to teach binary options to the general public? Is this part of your roadmap, or this is going to be delegated to someone else? Or
no, this is absolutely what we're going to be doing, and we already have been doing, which is what has taken a bit of time during our hackathon. There was a big, you know, part on education. So we launched a bunch of Medium articles. You can check out our Medium page if you search for it. I think we have a bunch of links probably on our Twitter and Discord as well. We put up the series Zeta 101, essentially, which is teaching people what options are, kind of what is the utility of them, what are some of the option strategies you can trade, as well as what binary options are. I think that was really important for when we launched our MVP. And so they're kind of like educational guides, essentially going through, I think in plain English, how to trade these different types of products, why you trade them essentially, and kind of educating the community. We also have a bunch of documentation on that kind of stuff, which is more specific to how our platform would work generally. But we've taken a page out of Robinhood's book. They're really good on the education piece and kind of breaking down the barriers, making it a lot more accessible and easy. And so we're big on writing a lot of these kind of educational articles and helping people understand what it is we're building. Furthermore, we did a bit of a survey, and we asked a lot of the people what's the best way of doing educational content. And, you know, overwhelmingly, people were really keen to learn about options. I think the response rate was like easily over 90% of people really wanted to learn how to trade options. And so we asked them what kind of media they wanted for this. And so the three options, I think, were static blogs essentially, and then the other ones were essentially YouTube videos. And then the final one was like kind of paper trading on DevNet and that kind of stuff. And the response was really positive for, I think, the YouTube videos and paper trading. So obviously people are very keen to get hands-on, and they kind of like that format. So we're really big on that. I think we're definitely going to put out a lot more videos as well, teaching people how to trade on our platform and having some kind of educational content there. And then probably the most fun one is we're basically going to take our hackathon project for binary options, because they're quite simple. We're going to keep that on DevNet. We're going to open it up from the closed alpha to basically as many people as we can, get them trading on it. And it's almost like a sandbox where people can trade with paper money, see, how they fit in with options and like how to trade them, get familiar with that, maybe lose this kind of fake money, get liquidated and whatnot. But it's kind of like a really good learning process. We think that's kind of probably the best way to learn, is to get like hands-on and actually trade.
Definitely a leaderboard, some gamification, and a lot of fun.
Man, that's right. And we're gonna have like rewards and stuff as well. We got a P&L leaderboard, so even though you're trading probably like fake money on this DevNet just for now, for this kind of sandbox, we love to like give out some kind of rewards for that and get people actually trading and getting competitive, have like weekly leaderboards and winners and whatnot. So I think there's a lot of cool stuff we could do there.
Yeah, Zeta.Markets done. I look forward to playing.
Thank you.
Guys, you tick all the boxes. Like there is a reason you won. Like it was so easy. If we had this AMA before the announcement, like I would be willing to bet money that you would be winning. Like there's no way. You're doing the educational part. You've taken the final frontier of derivatives. You're building it on Solana from scratch. You had this beautiful story of getting together and building so many lines of code. Insane. And everything is slick and beautiful, and I'm very impressed. I'm very, very impressed, and I look forward to what's coming from Zeta.
Thank you very much. Like, really appreciate the kind words, and we're really excited for this journey. And it's so great to have this, amazing community behind us as well.
Is there anything else that you would like to maybe announce to the world? Maybe any partnerships, non-partnerships, any news, any? I don't know. It's a good time, I think.
Good question. There's not too much off the top of my head. We're definitely opening up our alpha trading platform back up and trying to get that up and running for the whole community. That's saying we want people getting their hands dirty and learning how to trade options. So watch out for that. That should be dropping pretty soon. Otherwise, we're putting our heads down really hard and trying to build out the full options platform. So we've got our hands pretty full, but there'll be plenty of awesome updates coming to our Twitter and Discord pretty soon. Cheap, anything you wanted to add to that?
No, nothing too much really. As you said, just a huge thanks to the community and all the support of everyone who entered the hackathon, Grape included. We've been shown so much love. Thanks for that.
Oh, thank you guys. Thank you for your hard work. Really, thank you for being here and sharing all these beautiful news and your development with the Grape community, with the audience. It's been an amazing experience. I'm very thankful, and as I said, I look forward to working together, to being your client as a trader myself. I look forward on the platform.
Not at all. It's pleasure's all ours. So looking forward to it.
All right, guys. We managed to do almost an hour, 45 minutes. So I think we can end it somewhere here, so we don't tire the audience, because options trading and these concepts are not easy concepts.
That's right. Yeah, thanks a lot for having us on. That was really enjoyable. Really appreciated the chat.
And I look forward on partying together in Lisbon in November.
Yeah, 100%. See you there.
Beautiful, guys. I'll see you there. Take care, and we'll stay in touch.
All the best. See you later.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Thanks.
What an amazing AMA, eh? What amazing team this is. Like, how well spoken, like so well, like everything like the explanations were all so easy to actually get. These are hard concepts, and you can see why these guys won. Honestly, you can easily see why they won. Any questions, guys? I see people have written a couple of things on the AMA. You should have done it a bit earlier. If there are any really good questions, I'm going to send it to the guys to maybe get a private answer. Obviously, we'll be releasing a video. If anybody wants to volunteer to do a transcript, that would be awesome to have this in a written form. Please volunteer. There's no way we can do that, but I will definitely fix the video together with the community videographers, which is an amazing bunch. They've been spitting out content like never before. I've never seen such quality work. Yeah, we'll also put chapters to make it easy for you to navigate. And yeah, that's it. Like it's easy to see why Solana is exploding. It's easy to see why all these the final frontier of DeFi needs to actually happen. Can only happen in Solana. It's the only blockchain that can support this kind of products. I also have Ratoshi here looking at me. And yeah, it's an unorthodox time for stream, but the Zeta team comes from Australia, so we had to find a time zone that's convenient for both. Again, thank you everybody for participating. Thank you everybody. Thank you all for the questions. The questions were so helpful. Thank you for taking the time to read the Zeta documentation, the Zeta white paper, and taking the time to actually write the questions and attend the AMA. You make this whole thing valuable. Super thankful. On that note, I want to remind people that we have our public team call at 6 p.m. UTC. So if you want to actually listen to the developing team of Grape talk to each other mostly, where we are actually going to congratulate each other and talk about our plans and our current developments. If you have a lot of time because it's summer, maybe you are taking some time off or something and you want to step up and become a builder, this is the time to actually listen to where you can help, because just coming and PMing me, hey, how can I help? This is not a helpful question. I can't give an answer to that, but we offer those public team calls where you can attend and you can listen and you can decide where you can be helpful. We have a COD, a Call of Duty tournament coming on. Go check on events. Oh, we have Dean Machine here. Hello, Dean Machine.
Hey, did you tell everybody about the Star Atlas AMA?
The Star Atlas AMA is on the 30th. We need your help. We need your help, guys, for the Star Atlas AMA. We are privileged. We are not privileged. What's it called? We are humbled. Honored. Humbled that the Star Atlas team is going to sit down with us and answer to some of our questions. And we need help from you guys. We need you to submit questions like you've done on the Zeta AMA, like you've done on the Media AMA. All those amazing questions. They've been so helpful to steer the the interview. So please do your best. They've demonstrated their amazing NFTs. We've bought some of them. We're bullish on them. We're looking forward to the game, so please go ahead, read their documentation, and post your questions. That's mostly it. I see someone has wants to say something. Okay, let's
end it here.
Let's end it here, guys.
That was super awesome. I loved listening to all of it. It was great. You did a great job. The team was fantastic. Really, like, these AMAs are just getting better and better and better, man. I can't wait. I can't wait for the next one. Can we have one now? Can you invite the project real fast so we can do another one now?
Which one do you want? Let's get Vitalik Buterin.
Yeah.
Let me give him a call.
I'll see you soon, dude.
All right, guys. See you in a few hours for the team talk, and thank you for making this a special event.